So welcome to the Beyond the Team. Today we'll be talking about Myrmes. Now Myrmes is a game about ants, or rather scientifically they're called Formicidae. And to me, Myrmes is amazing because it really makes you feel like you are playing a colony of ants. And so today what I want to do is talk about how the mechanics in Myrmes really mirrors real scientific facts about ants. But in preface, of course, because this is behind the theme for Myrmes is that you are on the world of Myrmes and you're kind of these sentient ants, or rather the queen. So I won't be talking about that. I play Myrmes, I think as most people do, like they are in your garden. So that's the way I'm going to look at it. So let's get into it. In preface to all the stuff I'm going to give about ants, there's many species, and for the ones that I talk about might refer to certain type of ants, but might not apply to every ant family. So before we get into the mechanics and the theme, a few simple facts about ants. They basically come from the wasp family, and about 130 million years ago, they evolved into something we call eusocial. Eusocial being these massive kind of organized groups which basically seemingly all work together as one big organism, but they're all made of different little parts, which are basically like bees, termites, ants, and so on, which are the most prolific insects in the world. And another fact about ants is, minus the drones that basically get born to basically mate and die, are basically females. So basically they're all sisters. So when you refer to an ant, you know, minus it being called it may be in the thematic sense of male or female, it always should be a she. Now, so let's get into the mechanics with the theme. The first thing is, of course, with ants, pheromones. Alright, now ants lay pheromones which they then affect with their sense of smell, tell them what the other ants wants to tell them. Be it there's danger in front, or someone's being attacked, and so on and so forth. Now, it means when you place pheromones, which is these shaped hex tiles, one of the cool things is that when you step onto a tile that you have already placed, your ant can go right to the end, meaning it moves so much faster. And strangely, this is true for real ants. Now, why is that so? Think of what the pheromone does. The pheromone is like a street sign that tells the ant something. So the ant now knows there's no danger in front, for example, so he can move faster. And to prove fact on this, there is a scientist in the University of Bristol called Nigel R. Franks who found how ants teach each other. He uses rock ants, alright? And what happened is the experiment is pretty simple. He has two new homes for the ants, alright? And what happens is both the ants will go and look and find these two places, and in the end they end up in the bigger, nicer home. How do they do that? One ant first goes and he scouts, finds that this place is pretty cool, it's big, it's open, it's spacious, it's covered, and he comes back to the colony and then he gets literally another ant, just one more ant, and they go back. Now, when the second ant reaches the place again, it goes in and scouts, while the first ant goes back to the colony and picks another ant. And this goes on. So if the place is good, you can see exponentially the ants start to basically leave a stronger pheromone trail, whereas if the other place is not so good, the pheromone trail gets weaker. And so you see, once the pheromone trail is very strong, the ants start to move at a quicker pace because they now know this is a good spot. On top of that, of course, you can do that with like groups of hundreds, 500,000 ants, right? So there's a threshold that literally once a certain limit of percentage of the ants think this is a good home, a chemical reaction hits, and then ants literally, at least with the rock ants, literally pick up their comrades and bring them to the new home. And they literally go, I think, at double the speed of what is this process called tandem running. Alright? So it is amazing. It is. And so how the theme of the pheromone trail left in the game of Myrmes really is coming from facts. The other thing is, when you read a lot about ants, is how the varied ways they have evolved since their ancient ancestor. Alright? It's so many different kind of ants. Example, army ants, they are just basically think Mongols, alright, they just go around and they just take anything along their path. Or you have the honeypot ants, which are from Australia, which milk literally their own comrades for, you know, their comrades become so filled with kind of sugary drink to feed them that they literally can't move, and they use them like, you know, like a cow basically in a way. And then you got the wood ants, which actually farm aphids. Strangely in Myrmes, you can do this, you know. And one of the ways that happens is either the strategy you want to play, and another thing is the objective tiles in the game. You know, in every game of Myrmes, you get 6 objective tiles. And if, let's say, like one of the tiles, they have collect this many insects. Well, if you were to go that strategy, you will have a lot of soldiers, because you need soldiers to kill the insects in the game. And so, you know, through these objective tiles, you can evolve your ant colony to be extremely different from another player in the game. You know, like I said before, if you have a lot of soldiers and you send out workers to just find the insects, you are the army ant. Or you're the type that builds aphid farms, which you can do in the game, you are like the wood ant. It is extremely cool and really makes you feel the differences between the different kind of Formicidae species out there. And on a note about the whole being like the army ants or even the fire ants of America, or South America used to be moved up to North America, the really cool thing is there was a experiment done by Dr. Alex Wild of the University of Illinois, and he took an area of space in the desert, and he basically did an experiment that every insect that fell onto the floor of this experiment lasted an average of 3 minutes on the floor, and 100% of the experiment, all of those insects were picked up by ants. All right, so, you know, I mean, as you can see, that how effective these insects are. And on top of that, if you in the game were the only one that collected insects, you can, you know, basically use this statistic, pretty cool, to you know, enforce your idea on the theme of when you're playing Myrmes. And the theme doesn't just apply to, you know, the game board, shared game board. Then in Myrmes you have your own game board too. And in this process, there's also theme in that. You know, the thing is, in Myrmes, you get to choose whether you make workers or whether you make soldiers, or whether you want to make nurses. And here's the strange part about it: it's actually the same in real ant colonies. In real ant colonies, the queen doesn't give birth, strangely, to a misconception that it gives birth to a soldier, it gives birth to a worker. They all get born exactly the same. They're just larvae. And one of the ways, again, this might differ with different species, that the egg then changes into what the colony needs is by how much food you feed the larva. Now in Myrmes, you put different amounts of nurses that gets you either a worker or a soldier. And so, you know, it kind of reflects that. It kind of reflects that the kind of different amount of food or resources you give to this larva, it becomes something different for the colony. So that is behind the theme for Myrmes. An excellent game that really is an Euro game, but to me, when I play it, I really, really do feel like I'm running an ant colony, that I'm an ant queen. And for the last part, before I end this, it's kind of a note on keeping ants, you know, because when I was a kid, you know, I did keep a little ant before, which I called Sweetie, and I, you know, put sugar or leaves or whatever for it to eat. Just to let you know, that's actually a bit cruel, and I do regret that now. If you ever do keep ants, know that they don't actually eat, you know, the example leaf or sugar sometimes and all that. Example with the leaf cutter ants, they actually take the leaf and they make it into a mold, which then they eat the mold. So when you keep an ant without its colony, it's basically almost a death sentence. So I ask that, you know, minus buying an ant farm, maybe don't keep ants, you know, let them be in the wild with their colony. So thank you very much. Till next word.